Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the FrSky X-Lite. Now this is a small affordable transmitter from FrSky, and I usually don't get on well with the smaller form factor transmitters, and that is just because for the last 20 odd years or so I've been used to a transmitter of this size. So this is the Taranis Plus, and really this is like a 1990s design and transmitters haven't changed a lot. So you know, I've been used to this form factor and this stick movement for 20 years or so, so it should be no surprise that when the transmitter's form factor is smaller and the throw of these sticks is smaller, that it takes a little bit of adaptation for me. And you know, I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks. However, I have been really surprised how well I like this transmitter. It is just so comfortable. We have got this soft touch material here. And it's funny because I've been seeing a lot of comments saying, oh, this transmitter's no good for pinchers, it's designed for thumbers, and I completely disagree. I think someone who is a thumber is going to have just as much adapting to do as a pincher. And when I look at this, you know, my first reaction is to pinch the sticks, and the throw is shorter and you have this angle here. So for me, I think this would be perfect for a pincher, but I am a thumber, so you know, what do I know? The first thing that I notice as well is these sticks here, they are much less aggressive on your thumbs. So there's loads of grip there, but they don't cause a mark. So if you look at my thumb here, yes, I do a lot of flying. The Taranis Plus has got really sharp sticks. Of course you can change them out and things like that, but you know, I'm just mentioning it because it's something I noticed with this. So I'm not going to be doing like a full model setup and going through OpenTX because, well, OpenTX has been around for years and there are countless videos on how to do that with the Taranis. Not a lot has changed there. What has changed is how you get into the menus and stuff, so I'll talk about that. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the batteries, because they are quite a strange size. Now I assumed they would be an 18650 battery, but they're not. They are a 18500, and I had to go and buy some because the 18650 is a popular battery, I guess, for the vaping world, and it's used in the hobby quite a lot as well. And I had to go and get a charger because my 18650 charger would not also charge 18500. So I think that's the biggest downside of this, because I only had a couple of options of battery, and I got the one with the flat top rather than the button, and that seems to fit well. And it's a little bit clunky getting them back in. Of course, you've got one on this side as well. I heard a story that someone was gripping them and actually untwisting these while they were flying, and you know, I don't know how they've managed that. They must have been really gripping it, because no matter how hard I grip it, that is not a problem for me. But yeah, I like how it feels in the hands, and you know, it's going to take some adaptation for anyone coming from a bigger transmitter, I think, and I really like it. I like the fact that it's got an internal antenna, and of course you've got the option for an external one as well. We've got a cap here, but I think, you know, I'm mainly going to be using it with the internal antenna. Man, that is really tricky to get off. There we go. I'm going to be using the internal antenna because I think the idea of this is to have the small form factor. You know, you have to have a case and everything for this, and you know, it takes up quite a lot of space, quite heavy. This one nice and small, and if you start sticking antennas on it and stuff, you might get more range for sure, but then you know, you start increasing the form factor of it, you know, and have to carry an antenna around. My idea for this is to just use it like this, and I'm going to be testing what the range is like and the RSSI and things like that. So this transmitter came as part as a RTF model, so I didn't get the case or anything like that. But I am going to be checking this out along with that RTF model in a different video, but I just wanted to give my opinion on the actual X-Lite itself. So one thing that I thought was interesting is these switches here. So the switches are really, really tiny, you know, maybe 3 mm in length, this one. So we've got two 2-position switches here and two 3-position switches. We've also got the potentiometers or sliders as well. Now there's no centering in the middle there, but I guess the idea is for it to be similar to this, but we do have a center on the Taranis Plus. I won't be using that. Now, even though this came as part as an RTF and it was bound up, it did still have the sticks in the middle, and both of them were spring loaded, and it was set up for mode 1. Now the majority of you out there are going to be mode 2, but what I did really like about this was how easy it was to change the mode. So you're given 4 sets of screws, and you have a long screw which goes in, actually it'd be this side if you are converting it to mode 2, but I'm a mode 1 fly, so the long screw goes in this one here, and then what that does is it releases the spring tension, and then we have a shorter screw that goes in here, and what that does is it gives you sort of another tension on there as well, so it makes the throttle easier or harder to move, and you're going to want to play about with that. And you were also given some caps to put over the top there, so once you have got it to the sweet spot, then you can cover them up, which I quite like. And you know, I thought I'd struggle with these switches being small, but I actually quite like them. And this one here, I'm going to have that as my arming, and this one as my mode switch, and it's in a really perfect position for disarming, so you can just flick away and flick up really quickly, so the size doesn't bother me. You're also given some heat shrink to put on here as well, but I'm not going to bother with that. So it's not designed for the usual JR modules, it's like a smaller one, and I think they have a long range module that they are coming out with, you know, to try and sort of get away from crossfire. So on the underneath we have got the smaller USB, so that's something that was always a complaint of these ones, so you got the bigger USB there. This one has the smaller one, and it does act as a joystick into the computer. Something I thought was interesting though is even though this is set up as the channel map TAER, when this is plugged into the computer I had to recalibrate it. I think the throttle was aileron and the aileron was throttle, so you know, I'm not sure why it's not the same mapping as this. They both show up as like the Taranis in the gamepad in Windows, but there you go, something to look out for. This is a headphone jack and not a trainer port. I don't know why it's not a trainer port, but there you go. So micro SD card there. This hasn't come with a micro SD card, so you know, you don't have any of your sounds or anything like that, so you know, if you want to have that, then you can install that. And then we've got S port on here, which is quite nice. So something that I thought was a little bit naughty is the website says that it supports the wireless trainer option, and it doesn't. There's no trainer option in there, and it says you have to add additional components to have the wireless trainer. So bit of false advertising that I think. So if you are interested in this for that function, then at the moment don't get it because it doesn't have it. So to turn the transmitter on, it's a long press of the button. Now, I don't see the issue with the switch. I guess the idea is that you don't knock it, you have to long press it. I've never knocked the switch off my transmitter, but there you go. Now, the first thing that I had to do was calibrate the stick, so messing around with the tension and things meant that when the throttle was at the bottom, it was still showing a PWM value, and I was getting throttle error warnings. So what you have to do is, rather than there being a menu button this time, we have got this little joystick. So you hold the joystick to the left, and then this is the radio setup, and this was set up as mode 1 here, which is fine for me, but you're probably going to want to change as mode 2. So I think they're all coming with mode 1 set as the default mode, which, you know, I'm fine with. And so we can change our date and time here and stuff like that. We also have the battery range. I've just left it as stock. Interestingly, there's no page button. This time you have to go to the top of the screen. Then this is how you page over. So we've got the SD card, their global functions, some trainer options here, but you know, we don't have the module to do the Bluetooth, and we don't have a trainer out here. This is a headphone jack. I suppose you could hack into the trainer port maybe through here, you know, the module, the CPPM or S-Bus out, but at the making of this video that functionality is not there. So then if I page over, got the version number there, and then I'm looking for the calibration. So this is where you need to calibrate your sticks, and you're probably going to need to do that. This is now the cancel button here, so if you want to exit back to the main screen, and then short presses of this joystick here goes through the individual pages, and then a long press here to the right that gets you into the model pages. And again, so this is your main setup screen there, and I think we can also change here the antenna, so it's set to internal here. You're not going to want to mess with that unless you've got an antenna on there, because it's going to be transmitting without an antenna. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it to internal here. But again, you know, you don't have a page button. You have to go to the top of the page and then page all the way over like that to get to your different setup screens. So a little bit of change there compared to the Taranis if you're used to that. If you're not used to the Taranis and you're coming from, say, a FlySky, then it doesn't matter because you're going to have to learn this anyways. So if I just cancel out of there, the last thing that I want to talk about is the trims. As you can see, there's no trims here, so this becomes your trims here. So you can hear we get a beep when the trims change up and down, and this is my pitch that's changing on here. And if I go to the center, there's also haptic feedback, so a little motor with a weight on one side. You can set that up and the transmitter vibrates. And then I've got my yaw on this one, and you're probably wondering, well, how do you do the trim on the other side? This button, if you hold it, acts as a shift button, and then the other side then becomes the trim. So, you know, a little bit more clunky, I guess you would say, than, you know, your normal trimmers. But I think this transmitter is designed for quadcopters rather than planes. You know, have to mess around a lot more with the trims on a plane than you do a quadcopter, so I think that's why they've gone for that option. But that is pretty much all the things that have changed compared to, you know, the Taranis. Really, it's just the sticks. And another thing as well, you know, I talked about the trainer thing earlier, so if I go into there and over there, the trainer option is missing here. We just got the external RF module that you can turn on. Usually you'd have the trainer option there. Not there at the moment. Okay, everybody, please welcome back Transmitter Cam. Now I'm flying the HLRC Batman here, and straight away this is feeling pretty comfortable with this transmitter. Kind of feels a little bit like I've increased the rates on this model when I haven't. But oh man, I'm liking this much better than I thought. So I'm actually using the HD3s here to record the DVR, even though I have the HDOs, because there's been some manufacturing issue with the HDOs. At first I thought, oh man, these are the HDOs, and I didn't like them. I was getting a lot of light leakage, but it turns out that they have used some different plastic for the casing, which has meant loads of light leak to the point where I can't even fly with them. So I'm waiting for a response from them. I didn't want to sort of do an official video because I'm not sure if it's just mine. I'm not seeing any complaints whatsoever. So yeah, I'd be cautious buying the HDO. It's a different batch or something like that. But the good thing about Fat Shark is I know they'll sort it out. So while it's a little bit annoying, you know, I'm not sure you get that with other manufacturers. But, you know, we shall have to see. Anyways, let me talk about this transmitter. What I'm interested in is the RSSI. That's why I picked this copter. So yeah, the range is fine, so no problems with that. Oh man, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite copter, but I'm noticing it not quite as smooth as with the Taranis Plus or the X9D, and I imagine that's to do with the shorter throw. I've always struggled with these smaller transmitters because I'm so used to the bigger transmitters that have been around for, you know, 20 years or so. But anyways, I'm getting on well with this. But what I want to do is I want to see what the difference is in time. So I'm going to go into Velocidrone and see how I get on between the Taranis and the X-Lite in there. So I know I'm not much of a racer, but I feel like I can get around this track pretty consistently. I think around about 1 minute 16 to 1 minute 15 I can do. Oh Jesus, that's the worst bit, the split S part. Yeah, so it feels pretty smooth. I'm using racing rates here, so fairly low.
14.8.
Oh, I think that's my best time. Oh my god, my heart is pounding like crazy. That's why I cannot do racing through the split S. Yeah, so I think I'm using around about 0.6 here on the rate settings. 15.3. Oh man, much slower on that one. Yeah, I am not consistent. Another reason why I'm not a racer. But like I said, I want to see what it's going to be all through the Crufts doggy hoop. I want to see how I can convert.
15.23.
15.23, oh, about the same. Yeah, that's so, not doing too bad here. Yeah, I want to see how I can convert to the X-Lite and what times I get through the doggy hoop again. Oh man, that bit is so difficult. Last lap, send it!
14.73.
Yes, that's a pretty good time. So this is with the X-Lite. I've had to recalibrate it. Oh man, screwed the startup straight away, and wow. Yes, it really is like the rates have been turned up, but they are the same here. And, you know, I'm having to go a little bit slower. Oh yeah, wow, that is really tricky through there. Now, although, it feels quite fast still.
15.82.
15.82, yeah, so about a second slower than before. And yeah, it does feel like that as I'm having to adjust. Oh, I screwed that bit up, man. Consistency is the key with racing. Yeah, and I do not have it through the doggy hoop and around here. Full throttle. Nah.
17.15.
Oh, man. 2 seconds lost on that one. And then through here again. Let's see if I can make up some time. This is the difficult part. And yeah, maybe I need to up the rates on my Tyrannus there to get better speeds. Because I'm feeling like, yeah, this is a little bit better.
15.27.
15.27. Oh man, you're intimidating me, Stephen Hawkins. Just don't do that. Oh man, my heart is going crazy here. Let's see through the split S and then through the Crufts hoop again. That's going to be lost on everyone, isn't it? And send it through.
15.32.
Not bad at all, I don't think. So yeah, I have managed it a little bit. So I think with a little bit more practice, I could get better at that. So to conclude, I actually really like this transmitter. I like the form factor, and if you haven't been flying with this form factor for 27 years, then perhaps it won't take you so long to adapt to it. It kind of does feel like there are higher rates here, and perhaps I need to mess around with things like expo and curves to get it similar to this, but really, yeah, there is a shorter throw, and I think that is what is making it feel like, you know, I need to dial my rates down, but I'm sure I could get used to it. Maybe it'll take 27 years, because that's how long I've been flying this form factor, but I think if I'm in a situation where, you know, I don't want to be carrying a lot of gear, then I really like the small form factor, and the Hall effect gimbals, they feel really nice. There is no ratchet on the throttle, and that's something I can have on this. You know, flying mode 1, I find a ratchet really helpful on the throttle. You know, it sort of makes the throttle stick in a position so I don't knock the throttle when I'm doing my roll, and I guess it's the same for the mode 2 guys as well. You can knock the yaw sometimes on the throttle, and I quite like a ratchet for that. But there you go, that is my review of the FrSky X-Lite, and I'll link it in the below if you wish to get one. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.